Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and this is just me once again. Films I have already talked about. For some reason, before I started the camera, my nose was not itching. Now it wants to itch. Fuck it. I'm not a professional. I never meant to be a professional. All my point is with this video is sort of a spotlight on a group of films, mainly the first one of Crocodile Dundee. Which is probably the best way to grab the films, because it'd probably be the same price as buying just one of them. I doubt they're on Blu-ray, for those wondering, and I have reviewed these films before, so this won't be a long video, I promise. And I'll put down the links to my older reviews if you want more in-depth reviews of these three films. This one we had the 15-minute limit, or at least I did, so that's why there are multiple parts. But in watching these films again, realizing that they don't really get the respect nowadays, especially the first one, which I love, like another film we revisited, 3 Men and a Baby. These are films, especially the first one. I did say the first Crocodile Dundee would be that might be in my top 10 of favorite comedies as well. The first Crocodile Dundee, it's just a great, fun, entertaining film. You have this guy, Paul Hogan, as Mick Crocodile Dundee, and Paul Hogan, he helped write the script as well with Ken Shady and John Cornell. And believe it or not, the screenplay to the first Crocodile Dundee was nominated for an Oscar, the screenplay. And I know that Paul Hogan won a Golden Globe, and the first film was the biggest hit worldwide of the year it came out, 1986. Crocodile Dundee, I think it was like maybe the second biggest hit in the US of that year, and it was the #1 film worldwide of 1986. The reason I mention that, why does this film not get a special edition? From what I understand, in Australia, there's a longer cut of this with like some of the language put back in that was changed for, I guess, for the American release. Like there's one guy who you could tell he says fuck, but they dubbed it. So maybe it was an R-rated cut. I don't know. I would like to see that and interview. I don't know. I'm getting all over the place. For those who know Crocodile Dundee, I mean, you have this reporter played by Linda Kozlowski. She's a New York reporter. She goes over to Australia for this story about a man who's supposedly his leg was bitten by a crocodile and he crawled all this way and barely survived. Then she finds it was pretty much exaggerated. But then her and this guy, Mick Dundee, Paul Hogan, they fall in love. And what I like about the first one, it's very entertaining, it's very funny, it's a great fish out of water story, where first the New Yorker, she's in the Outback, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, the Mick Dundee character Paul Hogan plays is very sweet guy. He's always friendly to everybody. He's always shaking people, say, "Hey, yeah, good day, mate." You know, you can tell he's a genuinely good guy. He has a good heart to him. That's what I'm getting at. A lot of fun bits. Like he has his buddy, and he's trying to impress the reporter, so he quickly looks at his buddy's watch, and then he looks at the sun. Oh, 2:20. And then she goes over to the buddy, and he hides the watch. Like, yeah, he's really good at that. Of course, you remember he does the thing where when he has animals, it's like mind over matter, so it makes the animals pass out or get out of the way or, be friendly. But you get a lot of fun bits, like you have a tribesman, and you're like, oh, who's this guy? And then Mick Dundee with his knife goes up to his neck. He's like, Mick, you frightened shit out of me. It's like, well, what do you expect sneaking out here when I'm tending a woman? Oh, is that what you were doing? And Paul Hogan and the female Linda Kozlowski, they would ultimately fall in love and marry, I think in 1990, and they're still married, from what I understand, which is pretty nice. I think that's fairly nice. They just have a. What's great about this film? Not only is it fun, not only is it funny, not only because of Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski, It's a sweet love story, but it's also a very funny fish out of water story. There's really not a lot of subplots getting any way, meaning it's just about that. And that's all it needs to be. It's about her coming over and experiencing his world. That's the first half of the film, and the second half is him coming to New York and experiencing her world. And you get a lot of funny stuff in and out. You know, a lot of funny lines. Well, you can live on it, but it tastes like shit. And when he comes to New York, like when he's getting on the plane, he's never been on a plane before. He goes, "Oh, Christ." And he's not sure what the escalator business is. And I love the guy who did the score to Boom, dum, da, dum, dum, dum. I want to get the guy who did the music. The musical score fit perfectly, whether it be in the opening theme. Do 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 do. Boom, down, down, down. The guy who directed this was Peter Feynman, and I guess the only other thing he directed, at least after this, was Dutch with Ed O'Neill. But then that bombed pretty hard. I guess because this was a film that John Hughes had, I think he had written. And, a film like that, bombing hard probably hurt this Peter Feynman's career, which is pretty sad because I don't mind Dutch too much, but I'm a big fan of Crocodile Dundee. Yeah, I'm trying to find who did the score, but like there's a bit of business with this one guy who's doing cocaine, and of course he doesn't realize it. He doesn't know what cocaine is. He thinks the guy's sick. He's like, there's a better way of doing that. He takes this cocaine and puts boiling water. He's like, no, just put your head over there and put a little handkerchief. Now just breathe it in. It'll work better. Or he's at a bar and he doesn't realize this guy's a woman. Someone tells him. He's like, really? Looks at him and just cups him. He's like, hey, that guy's a Sheila. Oh, you bastards, you knew that, didn't you? Peter Best, he did the music. He did a great job. Whether it be the sweet one is the love story, or the main theme in the beginning. I'm sure if I play, they'd probably fucking go after me. I'm sure Paramount, considering they do nothing for some of these movies, like, I'm sure they would just have a sissy fit. But you do find it on YouTube anyway. Crocodile Dundee soundtrack, or Crocodile Peter Best. He did a really excellent score. I'm trying to see what else he's done. A lot of films I've never heard of, to be honest. Muriel's Wedding. A lot of stuff I haven't seen, which is pretty weird, because he did a great job here, but none of these other movies sound familiar to me. That's too bad. But the other bits in New York where, of course, everybody remembers, that's not a knife. No, that's a knife. I mean, just memorable bits, and you buy the love story. It's very sweet. The music helps a lot. The really great, funny dialogue. And you can tell this character is really wonderful character. Like when he talks about, she asks, "Were you ever afraid of dying?" It's like, well, no. I read that Bible once. Jesus and those apostles, they're like fishermen, like me. Straight up to heaven, Dundee would go. Me and God, we'd be mates. So it's that sense of innocence, and it's not too sentimental, so you're gagging, but at the same time, it makes a very nice character. I know there's a bunch of bits I'm forgetting, and that's why, I'm not going to go too in depth, because I reviewed the film before. It has a sweet ending where she finds out she loves him. Like, she figures out she goes after him, and you have in the subway, and it's so crowded. He gets on top and gets to her and freeze frame. It ends perfectly. Reginald VelJohnson, who of course was in Die Hard, the TV show Family Matters, he's the limo driver. And he helps out Crocodile Dundee and throws a little boomerang. And he's like, "You shooting up Pimanjari tribe?" "No, man, Harlem warlords." "See, I knew you were trouble." I mean, you just have to see the film. I mean, I'm probably doing a bad job. I do a much better job in my more in-depth review. This is more like being sort of glossing over, just for people to check this out. Not give too many spoilers as well. I think that's why too. To Crocodile Dundee, this is a film again, biggest hit in the world in this year, in that year that it came out, and everything works. I don't have any problems with Crocodile Dundee. It's fun. It's funny. It's a sweet love story. Uh, Great score. Great fish out of water story. First half in Australia, the second half in New York. A lot of funny bits, like when he's trying to figure out stuff. Like when he sees these two hookers, but he doesn't know they're hookers. And they, "Oh, I've heard you in the paper. Well, gee, we may have to give you a free one." He's like, "Yeah, free what?" Like the way he plays it off, just, I'm not doing it justice. But uh, this film deserves a special edition DVD. It deserves something for features. This has jack shit for features. Crocodile Dundee. That's bullshit. There should be. I guarantee you, Paul Hogan and Leonard Kozlowski, they would talk about the film. Give them a commentary track, a documentary on the phenomenon. Like Crocodile Dundee, you say that name, people remember that, that's a knife. They remember it. Like all these other DVDs and all these other, come on, Paramount. I'm sorry, it's not Star Trek and fucking other shit. I don't understand you sometimes, Paramount. Why don't you give this? This was the biggest hit. And hell, the sequel? The sequel made like $100 million when in the U.S. when it came out in 1988. Made a shitload of money. Which is weird. Then after that, like 12, 13 years later, you had a part 3. Like, consider the second one. And the second one, I like the film, not as much as the first one, but the second one is more of an action film. It's more about, Linda Kozlowski. She knew someone who got some stuff on these drug dealers, and these drug dealers kidnap her, and Paul Hogan saves her, but then they're so gunning for her, so he takes her back to his home roots in Australia, and sort of the third act, or like the last 30 or so minutes, is him taking these guys out. But it is, the first one is PG-13, the next two are PG, but it works fine for PG. Like, it didn't bother me. And there's a lot of fun bits. Like, Charles S. Dutton plays a role you never really seen him play. You always think of him as the serious actor, but here he's like having fun as this guy who pretends that he's, rough and tumble guy, but he's not dealing with drugs or anything. He's actually dealing with stationery. He's delivering stationery. He had a lot of fun bits where there's like a guy trying to commit suicide, and he walks on the ledge saying, "Oh, I usually come out here on my lunch break, but that's okay. I'll let you finish. Can you, get out here?" "Oh, sure. I'll just, you don't want me watching you." So you get some fun bits like that. Some fun bits in the end with like when they catch some of them. Like you have some early roles like Stephen Root, who you've seen in a few of the Coen Brothers films. You've seen in Office Space. I think this was his feature film debut. Like Charles S. Dutton, like I said. You have Luis Guzman in a small role. Like when they capture some of the bad guys, you have some Aborigine. They're talking, and Linda Kozlowski is there. She's like, "What'd he say?" "Well, he's wondering if we get to eat these men." And she's horrified, but like he gives her a wink to show that they're kidding, but they're freaking out the guys they caught. I mean, I like the film a lot. It still has a lot of good moments. I mean, check out my review down below. It's more in depth. But it's a little bit more the action bits sort of takes away, like, you still have some fun, but it's not as funny because you have the action. I mean, you get action bits like the scene where some people are after him and he jumps from one floor to the other, like swings in. Although he gives a good reaction to the people there and heads out. Or Steven where he gets some answers and he's holding the guy at bay while he's at the urinal. And then the knife goes here, he's like, no, no. So you get the idea. Or like a scene in the subway, he's meeting someone. And yeah, I actually have these two Asian tourists and Crocodile Dundee's able to get the guy on the trash can. The Asian guy kicks it, and he thinks Crocodile Dundee is Clint Eastwood. You did some fun bits, I mean, but the third act, I mean, it just goes straight more towards. You did again some little fun bits, but it's more of an action film. So it takes away a little bit from the comedy, but definitely not a bad film. I mean, I liked the film, just not as good as the first one. The first one I think had that perfect, just simplicity and innocence about it, and just I thought a lot funnier. But the second film is really good, and the third film it is the weakest. I mean, I thought it was okay. I mean, it's basically years later. Crocodile Dundee, they have a son. They go to L.A. Lyndon Kozlowski's like doing a story, something to do with something on a studio, something to do with paintings. I can't. It's been a while since I've seen it. Like this at a movie studio, and I think something to do with paintings or something like that. I mean, it's for a 13-year wait. You know, I thought it was okay. I mean, being a big fan of the character and a big fan of the first two, I can't hate the third film. But if other people do, I don't blame them. But again, I did a more in-depth review down below. I remember you have a little small role with Mike Tyson in it. Little cameo from Mike Tyson before the hangover and such. Definitely not up to par with the first two, but I found some fun, a couple of funny bits in there as well. But definitely not up to par as these two. But, I mean, it's definitely worth a look. I mean, I think the second one has like a little 5-minute feature from back in the day. I think Crocodile Dundee again has like a 5-10 minute feature from when it was coming out. But not much for features. I mean, the first film should have like a retrospective documentary about how big this film was and where the idea came from and being nominated for the screenplay for an Oscar. Winning the Golden Globe. I think it won for Golden Globe for best like comedy or something like that, I believe. Being the biggest hit in the world, like, you know, come on. How it was made, and you know, it'd be nice. It's worth it. I mean, I don't understand Paramount's deal. I think that's another reason why sometimes I revisit some of these films, because I'm just getting out there. This deserves a better treatment. The stuff that was cut out that's in the Australian version, I like to see those. Instead of having to buy one from Australia, and am I getting the right one? Because I think there was some stuff cut out, like there's a scene where he's dealing with a pimp and the guy says, you can tell he says, you know, fuck, but they dubbed in screw. Just, you can only use fuck, I think, one time in order to still have PG-13. But yeah, the third one, it's okay. Second one's good, but the first one is my favorite. I mean, I love the sweet, simple story of the fish out of water and the love story. It worked perfectly. It works very well. Paul Hogan, it's too bad Paul Hogan. I think nowadays he has like tax troubles or something like that. It's like, you know, learn from Wesley Snipes, pay your taxes. You know, come on. But it's too bad his career didn't take off. It's weird. I mean, these were huge, but he did films like Almost an Angel. I don't even remember Almost an Angel, and his career didn't really take off, which is too bad. It really is too bad. But I'm a fan of these movies. I'm a fan of this character, and you know, definitely get this package. It's probably the best way you're going to be able to get these movies. Just Paramount won't get off their fucking lazy ass and do anything with them, which is sad. And at least watch the first one. It's a classic, in my opinion. It is a comedy classic. And again, it doesn't get taught. Not a lot of people talk about this movie, Crocodile Dundee. Like on YouTube, not many people talk about this movie, which is a shame. It deserves it. It's a great fucking movie. So Crocodile Dundee, this is sort of my spotlight on the films, especially the first one. You want more in-depth reviews? Check them out. They're older, but it's much more in-depth on what I particularly like, and I'll know the lines more and stuff like that. So feel free to check them out. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another review sometime later.